Some fortunes are built in daylight. Others are forged in smoke. The DuPont name sounds polished, aristocratic, almost gentle. It belongs on museums, universities, charitable foundations. It feels safe, respectable, American. But history has a way of hiding its sharpest edges behind elegant surnames. And if you follow the DuPont story all the way back, past the portraits and philanthropy, past the corporate logos and gated estates, you find something darker. Something explosive. This is not just a success story. It's a warning about what happens when innovation, fear, and power grow together without restraint. Here is the uncomfortable thesis most people never hear. The DuPont family did not simply rise with America. They helped shape how America learned to profit from destruction. Their fortune was not built on convenience or comfort, but on gunpowder, war, chemicals, and control. And once that door was opened, it never really closed. To understand how this happened, we have to step back into a world trembling on the edge of revolution. The late 18th century was an age of fire and upheaval. Monarchies were falling. Old orders were collapsing. France was tearing itself apart in blood and ideals. Science was advancing faster than ethics could keep up. Chemistry, once the curiosity of scholars, was becoming a tool of power, eleutherarine. DuPont was born into this chaos. His family was educated, ambitious, and dangerously close to political unrest. He studied chemistry under Antoine Lavoisier, the father of modern chemistry, a man who believed science could perfect society. That belief would cost Lavoisier his head during the French Revolution. It was an early lesson for DuPont. Knowledge could elevate you, but it could also kill you. As revolutionary fervor turned violent, the DuPont family fled France. They arrived in America not as conquerors, but as refugees. They were outsiders, immigrants with accents, unfamiliar customs, and a burning need to rebuild their lives from scratch. This is where the myth usually begins. The noble immigrant family, chasing opportunity in the new world. But opportunity doesn't exist in a vacuum. It responds to demand. And in early America, one demand towered above the rest: power, security, firepower. The young United States was nervous, fractured, and surrounded by threats both real and imagined. Expansion meant conflict. Conflict meant weapons. Weapons meant gunpowder. And American gunpowder was terrible, unreliable, dangerous, often useless. DuPont saw this immediately. Where others saw risk, he saw leverage. The turning point came with a simple realization. America didn't just need gunpowder. It needed better gunpowder. And whoever controlled that supply wouldn't just be a businessman. He would be indispensable. In 1802, along the Brandywine River in Delaware, DuPont built his first powder mill. It was primitive, loud, and deadly. Explosions were common. Workers lost limbs. Some lost their lives. But the powder was superior. More consistent. More powerful. The U.S. military took notice. Contracts followed. And with each contract, the family's future hardened. The rise was swift and ruthless. DuPont reinvested everything into expansion. He improved production, controlled quality, and crushed competitors through scale and influence. By the time of the War of 1812, DuPont supplied the majority of America's gunpowder. The company didn't just profit from war. It became a backbone of it. This is where symbolism creeps in. Gunpowder is potential energy. It does nothing until it's ignited. The DuPont fortune worked the same way. It sat quietly, accumulating, waiting for conflict to unlock its true power. As decades passed, war became cyclical. Each new conflict reinforced DuPont's dominance. The Civil War transformed the company into a giant. Union armies consumed gunpowder at unimaginable rates. With every cannon fired, every rifle loaded, DuPont's influence expanded. Blood soaked the fields. Profits flowed north. The family learned a critical lesson during this era. You don't need to fight wars to win them. You just need to supply them. After the smoke cleared, DuPont faced a crossroads. Peace was bad for gunpowder, but chemistry was evolving. Explosives led naturally to industrial chemicals, fertilizers, plastics, paints, synthetic materials. The family pivoted seamlessly. Destruction gave way to construction, or so it appeared. Behind the scenes, the same logic applied. Control production. Influence regulation. Stay ahead of public scrutiny. The DuPont company became one of the most powerful corporations on Earth, shaping industries from agriculture to aerospace. By the 20th century, DuPont was everywhere. Nylon changed fashion. Teflon entered kitchens. Chemicals transformed farming, increasing yields and feeding millions. To many, the family looked like benefactors of modern life. Science, serving humanity. But there was another side, a quieter one. Waste dumped into rivers. Toxins buried in soil. Communities poisoned slowly, invisibly. Chemicals like C8 lingered in bodies for decades. Lawsuits emerged. Whistleblowers spoke, and the image began to crack. Public reaction shifted from admiration to suspicion. How could a company that made everyday life easier also cause so much harm? How could progress leave so many victims in its wake? The answer lay in the same mindset that built the empire in the first place. Efficiency over empathy. Growth over restraint. The moral gray is unavoidable. DuPont innovations helped win wars that may have preserved nations. They fed populations. They fueled technological leaps. But they also normalized the idea that collateral damage was acceptable. That unseen harm was a fair price for advancement. Internally, the family fractured. Generations disagreed over direction, responsibility, and identity. The company became less a family business and more a corporate organism, driven by shareholders rather than bloodlines. Control diluted. Accountability blurred. External pressure mounted. Governments investigated. Environmental movements gained strength. The public demanded transparency. Lawsuits cost billions. Eventually, DuPont split, merged, rebranded. The original name survived, but the unified empire did not. And yet the legacy remains. In products, in pollution, policy, in the very structure of how corporations interact with governments, DuPont helped pioneer a model where private companies wield public-level influence, often beyond democratic reach. Today, the DuPont name still carries weight, but also discomfort. Museums still display it. Universities still teach under it. But communities affected by contamination remember a different story. One not framed in marble halls, but in hospital rooms and court documents. So what are we left with? A family that embodied the promise and peril of modernity. Immigrants who became architects of American power, scientists who turned knowledge into profit and profit into dominance. Builders of a world that works beautifully until it does. The haunting truth is this. The DuPont story is not unique. It is a pattern. Innovation paired with fear, profit paired with harm, progress paired with silence. It forces us to ask not just what built America, but what America chose to reward. Because every empire tells itself it's different, more responsible, more humane, until history looks back and sees the smoke. And maybe that's the final irony. The DuPont fortune began with gunpowder, a substance that destroys itself in the act of creation. In that way, it was always symbolic. Power once ignited rarely burns clean, and it never disappears without leaving marks behind.